and was only suitable for people aged 18 or over, will almost certainly have an adult theme, and might well contain sex or violence, which are quite graphic. It may also contain explicit language, including sexual swear words. Thanks for listening.
But here's what his revelation comes to him. He's kind of got all this stuff like touching, wiping, mourning of the animals.
Not wiping, whipping.
Yeah. Also not touching.
I am dyslexic. I hope I'm not having like a stroke.
Do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
And an atheist almost always becomes supporters of eugenics and abortion.
A swine is hungry for nuts. Jesus hates him too.
Satan is real.
Being a Satanist is an open declaration of revolt against counterproductive received wisdom and mindless rogue tradition.
Decapitate her head off.
We're done. You're done.
Obama!
Welcome to the Godless Ribbit. No, wait.
Welcome to the Godless Ribbit.
Ribbit, no, wait. Obama!
Oh, shit.
Because I won't be able to say that a whole lot longer. I mean, I guess as long as it's in the intro, but he's not going to be the president anymore.
No, he's not.
Countdown fucking 10 days.
10 days till a nuclear holocaust. Whew. I'm going to grab a bottle of whiskey, sit on the side of the mountain, and watch the world burn.
Here now. I just 10 days.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the Godless Rebelution. I'm Dan Ellis.
I'm Ryan Duffy. And he returns.
I'm not going to play the song tonight, but I like it. Matt's back in studio with us this week.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Always good to be here. I like whenever you guys have me back.
Yeah.
You sound like Grant.
Or George Linville.
Yeah.
Shout out to George Linville if you're listening.
Hey, I fuck up names.
Ryan fucked up your name while we were doing pre-show stuff, Jeff. You should tap him on the bald head next time you see him.
I'm just gonna. You're George.
It's like, I saw the first three letters and just made an assumption. Anyway, we've got some things to talk about tonight. Matt has some stuff I know that he has wanted to get off of his chest. What do you guys want to do first?
Let's do that story about Jeff W. Bush.
Jeff W. Bush?
Oh. We got one about him?
No.
Oh.
I just saw the first three letters and I thought...
Yeah. Well, I just figured his cat's still missing and he's painting. So I don't know if we had an update on that or not.
No updates.
Well, and I blame Jeff's parents really for spelling his name weird, so...
Yeah. Come on, Jeff. It's spelled with a J.
It's not his fault.
Tell your parents they were wrong. Is that a French spelling?
Joff?
I don't know.
Joff. It definitely ain't American.
I'm not sure what that is. It's the Toys R Us spelling.
You want to...
Somebody out there will get that.
Do we want to...
Jeffrey the giraffe.
Yeah, the George Raff.
Yeah.
Should we start out with some listener... want to start out with some listener feedback that we've been forgetting to get to?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that, because it's been way too long. I've been neglecting it, and I feel like a shithead because I haven't responded to this one in particular, because this plucked at my heartstrings a little bit. It made me feel really good. You people out there listening to the show.
You people.
I'm sure that if you're listening, you either enjoy it or, much like me listening to Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Michael Medved, or Michael Savage, do so just because you fucking hate us so much that you want to be able to hear everything we say to be used against us at a later date.
We appreciate that.
But occasionally we get some feedback from listeners that really, I don't know, it provides some validation and makes, sometimes, I mean, we have a not insignificant number of listeners.
I think we have more than I expected we would have.
Yeah. And
it's not even about the number. It's about the quality, though. And this sounds like, just hear me out.
Okay.
I mean, we could go through by name, a bunch of people that respond to our show regularly, and they're awesome. They're all awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They are. I mean, they're quality people who send us in great information and great comments.
Smart, engaged, funny, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, as a podcaster or somebody who does things as an activist, any of that kind of stuff where you don't regularly hear from people whose lives you're affecting either just by them listening to you or if you're helping them in some way. You know, I know we all get busy. I don't send messages all that often to people who inspire me just to say, hey, thanks. You know, it's great. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it, that kind of stuff. And so when you do get messages like that, it gave me a really big warm fuzzy, and I appreciate them very much. But we got a message from Mr. Taylor Grin, who we've had on the show a few times. And his message says, I wanted to send this so you all would get it. Fuck, I'm going blind. I need to make this a little bigger here.
You need your magnifying glasses.
I do.
Holy fuck, that's huge.
I'm an old fucker. Now I can see it well.
It was my grandma's computer.
Taylor's message sent to us on Facebook said, I wanted to send this so you all would get it. Thanks for this week's episode. The girlfriend and I were one of those couples seriously considering moving out of the country. It's funny, I brought it up with Ryan Sunday night, not having heard the episode yet, and he was all but, fuck no, dude, stay and fight. I didn't use a very good Wisconsin accent on that, so.
I said, fuck no, dude, stay and fight.
But seriously, you guys captured something good last night. It's scary, the rise of fascism, but you help me feel like we can fight it, rather than just hope it doesn't affect me personally and wait for it to happen. Good luck with the Patreon. Let me know when it starts. I'll be happy to throw money at you and share with others. Anyway, I'll stop jacking off here and let you guys get to it. I know I'm friends with you too, but I felt like singing your praises this week. It's been really hard since Trump won, and y'all made things a little easier.
Oh.
When I read that as soon as he sent it to us. I think I was laying in bed when I got the message, and I felt all warm and fuzzy and thought, oh, that's so nice. I love getting feedback from our listeners.
You know, you can shave that warm and fuzzy anytime.
Even when it's, you know, a criticism or whatever. I love hearing from our listeners, but of course, getting nice feedback makes you feel better. Mm-hmm.
And of course, Taylor is one such friend of the show that I was referring to earlier. Yeah, and I am sorry that I did not send a reply to that, but it's, I don't know. I sometimes feel weird when I start feeling a little emotional. Mm-hmm. Like that was a very touching, heartfelt thing that you sent us, and I appreciate it very much. And sometimes I just don't know how to respond to that because I'm emotionally stunted.
I have the same issue. Like, if you give me a compliment, I might go, well, fuck you too. Because I don't know how to respond to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to say thank you very much for sending that in, Taylor.
That was greatly appreciated. And if you ever need to talk on the phone for a long night again and we can bullshit, and I'll get you to stay here and run for office again.
Yeah, he keeps, he's hinting that maybe he'll move to Utah, perhaps, possibly, maybe.
Well, I thought he did say he was going to be coming through this summer and hopefully be able to make a trip up this way.
Which would be awesome.
I told him the first beer's on me.
Yeah. For everybody?
Okay.
Oh, nice. I'm going to be there. Do you have a limit on, like, the size of the beer?
No.
Okay.
It's as long as it's not like, I got this beer imported from Belgium. It came on a boat and it cost $5,000.
Ryan, they're letting me drink straight from the keg tonight.
I bought the keg.
But I also wanted to thank all of our new YouTube subscribers, our new people who have liked the page recently. I think we're closing in on 1,000 likes on the Facebook page. Yeah. People who have rated us on iTunes and Stitcher. Thank you very much for doing that.
Rate the show.
Greatly helps other people get to see our show and helps get us out there more. So
yeah, helps other people be able to find the show. You know, your ratings bump up the show in searches and all of that kind of stuff for related shows to other things that people like and subscribe to already. So definitely ratings help us get the word out there more. So if you haven't done so yet, please go out and rate the show. We'd appreciate it a whole lot. But yeah, I love you all. Thank you very much for listening.
I guess I like you guys too.
It's a lot of fun. I like doing this. I like hanging out with you guys, and just knowing that we help people occasionally is really affirming and makes me feel good.
Makes it seem like we're doing the right thing instead of just sitting on here screaming our heads off at people we don't like.
Yeah, well, and
It seems like you're singling somebody out with that statement.
Oh no.
Do you scream?
I mean, no, I just try to crack jokes to make it more lighthearted.
Well, and I don't know if it affects you guys as much as me, and I don't mean this to be denigrating to either of you in any way.
We'll see.
But, you know, I'm on the board for Atheists of Utah, and I'm the regional director here in Utah for American Atheists, and so I fucking argue with people all goddamn day.
Mm-hmm.
I argue with people in email, phone calls occasionally, on social media. I argue with people every fucking day. And I have people call me an asshole and say I'm ignorant and I'm a fucktard and, you know, all of these just hurtful, awful things. But I like it. I mean, it's something I enjoy. I like arguing with people, but I don't know. Just after a while, it gets you feel a little defeated sometimes, you know, just when that's all you're hearing. And so getting messages like this are really awesome.
Yeah, that does affect you more than me for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I do it a lot.
Yeah. Because I mean, I still have the luxury of just being able to check out.
Yeah.
And be totally gone and not deal with any of it if I want.
Yeah, well, and it sucks too because, and I'm not saying this about all of our members or anything for Atheists of Utah, but generally when you hear from people, it's that they're contacting you to complain about something that they think you're not doing well enough, you're not doing often enough, or something that you should be doing and you're not. You know, you don't often hear praise for the things that you are doing. You hear complaints about the things that you're doing or not doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I think that's just part of human nature and comes with the territory. But like I said, you just, after a little while of that happening so often, you feel a little defeated. So getting messages like this occasionally are very, very helpful, and I appreciate them very, very, very much.
Yeah.
So let's move on from the Love Fest.
Okay.
What do we got for the Basket of Deplorables?
The Basket of Deplorables? It's a new jazz song.
Yeah.
Sounds like a scat song.
Mana.
Da, 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 da,
Mana.
da, da, da.
Oh, during our next break, I wanna play our new drops and shit for you guys.
Oh yeah,
and we can see if they're better or not. There are a couple of them I'm like maybe, I don't know, but you guys will be hearing them because I'm gonna throw them in the show when it's all done editing. So you'll have to let us know if you like them as well.
Well, I have something for the Basket of Deplorables, but that'll have to come after my little thing that I do.
Your little thing that you do?
My segment.
Get up and go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times while we're recording?
That's a big thing he does.
That is a fucking big thing that
I'm not talking about your penis. I'm just talking about getting up and walking around and making noise.
And just walking around, yeah. Just random. Just
wandering the studio.
Give Ryan a shoulder massage while he's trying to think of words.
Exactly, because I only know one words.
Always reminds me of Angela Merkel and George Bush every time you do it.
Oh, God. That was the most awkward thing.
At least Matt finds the door.
Uh-huh.
George Bush didn't.
I think you mean Jeff Bush.
Yeah, Jeff Bush. Yeah. Sorry, Jeff Bush.
Jeff Bush.
All right, let's move on to the Basket of Deplorables.
All right.
Please stand by. The Godless Rebelution will continue in a moment.
Here follows a public service announcement for the Two Skeptical Chaps podcast. Greetings, Americans. Over here in London, we are well aware that not all of you are loud, xenophobic, racist, sexist, religious nuts.
But many of your politicians who display these frightful traits seem to be quite popular.
Particularly a certain wall-obsessed, small-handed, best-word-using, daughter-perving, war-inciting, candy-floss-headed clown.
To those of you who choose to follow such balderdash, we strongly recommend not to listen to the Two Skeptical Chaps.
It probably won't be your cup of tea.
Otherwise, give us a listen.
Each episode, we cover any news or current affairs from across the globe.
Things that annoy or delight us.
That's 2 as in the number 2.
And skeptical with a K.
The wrong way to spell it. Cheerio.
We, frankly, unalterably oppose the practice of human sacrifice. And we even have our doubts about the system that requires it.
This is Danielle Moscato, civil rights activist, trans woman extraordinaire, and public speaker. You are listening to Godless Rebelution, and I hope you enjoy the show.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. They're racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
All right, so this week's Basket of Deplorable nominee
is a woman from Tokerville, Utah.
Yes, and this one was actually sent into us, so this wasn't one we found, which was good because I didn't do much looking at shit this week.
Yeah, listener Andy Faulkner sent this in to us, posted it to our Facebook page. As always, anybody is welcome to do that. If there's stories you would like us to cover or people that you would like to throw in the basket of deplorables or nominate for that position, we'd love to hear from you. You can do that on our Facebook page, or you can send us an email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, or individually now.
Yeah.
Do you even know that you have an email address now, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
Like one of your own?
Like he's lying.
Well, he asked me if I knew now, and based on context, yes.
Did you know? Did you know 10 minutes ago?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I did.
Not one for the show, but yes, I had my own personal.
Remind me to tell you more about it after the show.
Sure.
Anyway, Andy sent this in to us. It is about a woman in Tokerville who basically locked her 12-year-old child in a bathroom for approximately 2 years, as reported by local KUTV News.
Approximately, at least, at a minimum. 2 years,
as we're about to hear in the video. Yeah, this piece of shit apparently birthed this child. He sprang from her womb, and the child's father and she became estranged, and she decided to just completely neglect and abuse this kid.
But at the same time, lived with another man and 2 children, apparently.
Uh-huh.
And they all knew about it.
Yeah, this is really disturbing. I was upset by this. And as you guys will hear in just a moment, it sounds like the reporter on scene is barely able to stop from crying.
Yeah. Visibly and audibly distraught, yes. Yeah. Understandably.
We're pretty confident in saying that this child was in there for a minimum of at least a year.
A Southern Utah woman sitting in jail tonight accused of locking her son in a bathroom and leaving him there to starve, possibly for up to 2 years.
Police and hospital workers in Washington County say this is the most disturbing case of neglect that they have ever seen. DJ Bowlerjack is live at the jail tonight. DJ, any sort of explanation to police on how this boy ended up in these conditions?
Yeah, and this young reporter, like I said, he looks like he's going to cry, and then he sounds like he wants to cry.
Yeah.
They have no idea at this point, Mark and Sean. I will tell you, these detectives, these men and women have very thick skin. They see a lot of, very serious situations all the time, but they've never seen anything like this. They have seen some things that they cannot unsee, and I'm warning you right now, there are some details in this story that are very difficult to listen to. In the bathroom of a Tokerville home,
it would be my definition of a torture room.
Detectives say a 12-year-old boy was locked up for an estimated 2 years.
With latching mechanisms so it could be locked from the outside.
And neglected by his mother, 36-year-old Brandy Janes.
There was fecal matter and urine on the floor. There was open cans of food, like a can of beans with a spoon in it. There was also a video camera that was capable of Wi-Fi monitoring.
So they've got a Wi-Fi camera set up so that they can watch him without having to fucking interact with him at all.
Why would they even want to watch him?
Make sure he hasn't escaped. Make sure he's not
dead yet.
I don't know.
Doesn't seem like they care if he's alive.
Well,
yeah, who knows?
And what would that do to somebody locked in to a 10-year-old to 12-year-old kid who's locked in a room, isolated, with absolutely no interaction at all?
I mean, you have adults that were prisoners of war that were locked up, and they still have nightmares about that. And that's an adult being locked up in a prison cell during Vietnam or
this
World
poor
War
kid
II.
is going to be fucked.
This is a 12-year-old that has been in there since he was 10 or 11 years old.
Well, and they consider solitary to be an extra punishment inside of a prison.
Yeah.
So,
and they still have limits on how long they can leave someone in solitary.
Sure.
Well, they can come out after 60 days for a day, then they put them back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
30 years or whatever. But
and they haven't even talked about this kid's physical condition yet after being in there for 2 years.
The scene was discovered by the boy's father, who is separated from the mother.
The physicians on scene described this as the worst case of child malnourishment that they'd ever seen in their careers.
The boy weighs in at only 30 pounds.
12 years old, and he weighs 30 pounds.
That's got to be... There can't be much more than skeleton at that point.
Yeah, he's got to be completely atrophied. I mean, I would bet this kid can't even walk, can barely even move. He's just sat or laid on that floor for the past year or two.
The weight of an average 2-year-old. The neighbors are shocked by the news.
Disbelief. You can't even comprehend it even happened.
John Hammer, another neighbor, knows Brandy Janes.
Yeah, that's the one that's lives in that house right there.
And her 2 other children that live at the house.
All I've ever seen is the mom, the dad, and the 2 kids. Had no idea that there was ever a 3rd child.
The boy is now being treated at Dixie Regional Medical Center and expected to be there for weeks while he recovers.
We ask ourselves as parents, as investigators, how could this ever happen? It's a child.
Now, the 2 other children involved in this case, they are healthy, from what we're being told, and they're being taken care of by other family members right now. As for Janes, though, she is in jail and on a $20,000 cash-only bail. Excuse me, back to you.
That's incomprehensible to me. I don't understand how... I couldn't treat somebody who I despised that way.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have a complete lack of empathy in order to do that to another human being.
You have to have a complete lack of basic humanity to be able to treat anybody that way.
I mean, did she enjoy doing it to him?
Well, she clearly wasn't upset by it enough to stop doing it for a 2-year goddamn period.
And the funny thing is she had 2 other children who apparently were healthy kids, and it's, according to the police report, it said that one of them was at an age where they should have known this was a bad thing.
Yeah, well, and can you imagine being the father of this kid?
Oh, discovering that?
Yeah, who hasn't seen him for between 1 and 2 years.
Yeah.
And finding him in that condition.
I mean, for all we know, this could have been a mother that was only holding on to this child to, I don't want to draw conclusions, but to get money for having the child.
Yeah, getting child support.
Getting child support. Maybe the father was finally like, no, I want to see my kid. I haven't seen him. You won't let me see him. Just showed up and...
The Associated Press reports that, according to Krause, the 2 other children in the home said they had not spoken to their brother, even through the door, in 6 months. Police didn't say how old the other children were, but did say one was old enough to understand things.
Which is weird.
The local reporting, right? You gotta love that. But as a father, stumbling onto that or being estranged from my child for that long, and then finding them in that condition, I don't know what my response would have been. I think probably this woman and the guy that she's been shacking up with are lucky that the police arrested them.
Yeah, I mean,
before
an average 12-year-old should be somewhere around 80 pounds, I'm guessing. 80, 90 pounds.
Certainly a whole lot more than 30 pounds.
Yeah, for a 12-year-old boy.
What they say 30 pounds is the weight of an average 2-year-old.
Yeah, 2-year-old. That's what he weighed.
That's despicable. So, yes, Andy, I have absolutely no problem at all putting this woman squarely in the basket of deplorables. Thank you very much for sending that into us.
I mean, I think it goes beyond deplorable, but...
Well, yeah.
It's the only basket we have right now.
And that's where she will have to stay.
In Arkansas, a man so deeply lobotomized that he saved his dessert. After every dinner, he had a fondness of pecan pie. When they came to the cell to take him away, Mr. Rector, as he left the cell, left his pecan pie behind, saying he'd save it for later. He didn't know why they'd come.
Hey everybody, this is X.
And I'm Kyle.
And I'm Felicia. We're the Utah Outcasts.
3 out, unashamed, and active atheists living in Utah.
And we are personally inviting you to let us love your ears each and every week.
As we take the news, current events, and pop culture and give it a little twist.
A love twist, with consent.
And we'll be joined each week by a special guest to tell us what makes them an outcast like us.
Come find us.
The Utah Outcasts.
On podhell.com, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play,
Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
And on UtahOutcast.com.
We finally bought that domain off the kids handing out mixtapes in the mall.
Come be an outcast with us.
Take care of yourselves out there.
Bonne nuit.
And you're welcome.
Have we got anything happy, cheery? You got funny shit for us since you weren't here last week?
Sort of.
Yeah?
I guess. I have...
Argos.
I have some of my...
I have a bubble in my throat. I don't know if that helps.
But I do have some random thoughts and stuff that I've collected throughout the year that haven't made it into any of the shows.
Matt's random thoughts are never happy.
Sometimes they are.
That's fairly safe bet, actually.
Well, yeah, I guess they're not happy thoughts, but often they're funny.
Yeah. He wouldn't be able to fly in Neverland.
No. It'd have to be a whole lot of fucking clapping from other people.
I can fly in real world land, though. Let's see if I can find one.
Okay.
Here's a thought.
Okay.
The more like God we are, the better we become. Then why do Christians go back to work on Mondays? God worked for 6 days, then rested on the 7th, and he's never been back on the clock since.
Ooh, snap. He's collecting unemployment.
Goddamn socialist.
Yeah. Fucking asshole. Get back to work. Join our capitalist country. Because he is American, right?
Yes. Yes, of course.
I think every American Christian would say, absolutely.
I mean, I'd like to check his birth certificate.
Merkin Jesus.
Yeah. Full birth certificate.
Merkin Watt Jesus.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I am going to put together for the Atheists of Utah Winter Gala that's coming up. Tracy and I generally donate stuff for the silent auction. She's going to be putting together a Death Star basket full of Star Wars assorted Death Star stuff. And during our board meeting last night, I had a thought that I'm going to make an actual Basket of Deplorables stuff. Like it's going to be all of the things that in my mind I view the people who are deplorables would love. So It should be fun.
You better not put bacon in it.
It may be a key ingredient in there, honestly.
What?
But everybody loves bacon, so.
True. Coors Light and Spam.
It's going to be fun. I figure.
A pack of Marlboro cigarettes.
I figure there will be moonshine, maybe some Southern Comfort, Red Solo Cups, Politics for Dummies. It's going to be fun.
Nice.
I typed out a little list of things that just occurred to me the other night, and I was like, I'm so excited for this. It's going to be awesome. What else you got?
As you may know, I've recently been in the market for a new car.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate bit that.
Yeah.
I think our listeners know that you got in a car accidente.
I think so. Jeep has some interesting options.
Yeah?
They got a Jeep Wrangler and a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited.
Ooh.
But we couldn't agree on the numbers because the Unlimited includes an extra bench seat and 2 additional doors. So 3 things equals infinity to Jeep.
Yeah, that still seems pretty limited.
It sure does, doesn't it?
I mean, I want 12 people in my car.
Right.
But they're limiting me to like, what, 5?
That's enough to carry your apostles around.
Yeah. Be a Jesus Jeep.
So you're looking at Jeeps?
No, I don't know. I just more of a joke thing, really.
Yeah.
You said happy. I actually wasn't. I was going to skip that one tonight, but
that was good.
Okay,
do them all, man.
Do them all right now. I got like 3 pages.
Well, maybe not all of them, man. A good portion, a healthy portion.
Okay,
give us some mat serving.
Conservative Christians have a love affair with assuming that Jesus and the Founding Fathers all held the same opinions they do. Never mind that Jesus was a socialist Jew who knew nothing of guns, trucks, or even Christianity. And that America was founded by slaveholders who wanted to be free. So even if they did all believe in old buddy Christ, they were at best Hypochristians. The end.
Hypochristians, I like that.
I have never thought of it that way, that, yeah, we are founded on by slaveholders that wanted to be free from their slave their masters.
When humans consider their privileged place in the world, perhaps it would serve us well to remember that evolution is the exception, extinction is the rule.
It's true.
It is.
What is it? 99% of all
species
to have ever roamed the earth.
Yeah.
Roamed the earth.
To have ever roamed the earth are now extinct. Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, anti-choicers. Are you always pro-life? You never put salt on snails, magnifying glasses on ants? You've never gone after the big breeding buck or wild turkeys? What about elk, bison, wild hogs? In fact, you are the demographic most likely to be a hunter. How do you justify that? Deer aren't human, neither are cells. Interestingly, at funerals, theists always trot out the perfunctory, they're in a better place and God really needed them back. But when it comes to abortion, they completely abandon all that pretense and begin acting as if this is the only life we have and violently protect it that way.
They should kill, I'll bet they kill spiders too.
Sure.
You talked about magnifying glasses on ants, and I thought for sure you're going to talk about spiders because fuck those creepy things.
I got
to kill those.
I got a funny, semi-cute spider story.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What's your funny, semi-cute spider story?
So when I was back in Wisconsin back in September, chilling with my nephew, I found a spider out in the grass, and I was trying to make it so he wasn't afraid of the daddy long leg. I'm like, there's nothing to be afraid of a daddy long leg. So I was holding it in my hand, letting it crawl around. He got all comfortable with it, and we put it back down. We're watching it. We're chasing it. Then all of a sudden, he just fucking lifts his leg up as high as he can and smashes it. And he's like, I got it. And I'm like, yep, you sure did. After we were just
good
saying
job, buddy.
how nice this daddy long leg is and how cool he is. And he kills all the insects we don't like. And now you just squashed him.
Now he is no more.
It was semi-cute because he was just following it and all happy to see it. And then he just squashes it.
And now you go bye-bye.
Yeah.
I have a touch of arachnophobia, just a tiny bit. Like, if they catch me unaware and like I just stumble onto a spider that's very close to me, I might let out a bit of a shriek.
What if it was a midget spider?
It would be more than a shriek. Yeah. I have some weird things going on. Okay, I'm trying to get over them.
I did beat the shit out of my garbage can this summer when I opened the lid and there was the biggest fucking black widow I've ever seen sitting aside there.
Yeah.
What did your garbage can do wrong?
Well, the Black Widow did everything wrong. I had to kill the fucking Black Widow in there. They're
opened up my garbage can, almost beat the shit out of it.
Black Widows are poisonous.
Yeah.
I don't want that guy around my house.
Yeah, we've seen a couple Black Widows around the house. I took a picture of one last year and posted it online. But yeah, it was probably 6 months or so ago. I went to crawl into bed and I pulled the covers back and went to swing my leg up onto the bed, and this fucking big spider. Oh, that's a big spider, right?
Yeah. All of our listeners, they agree.
That's like bigger than a silver dollar.
Yeah, no, he's doing like a spider that would maybe barely fit inside of a paper towel roll.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any spiders in Utah that big.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so when I say it was this big, I'm including like
legs.
This is its legs splayed out, right?
Oh, okay.
And Tracy does the same thing you do, I think, where I'm like, fucking spider was this big. And she's like, that's as big as its body. I'm like, no, that's its body and legs and everything. And she's like, well, yeah, of course, then every spider is going to be huge if you do it that way. And I'm like, well, how do I present a measurement of just its body?
Yeah, but but you don't want to do it like that because then it looks very unimpressive, and a 300-pound man jumping out of bed because of it is suddenly sort of girly. Of course, you can't tell that story.
Well, sure. So, but it went crawling along the side of the bed.
It was the size of a Viking ship.
And I let out a little bit of a scream and jumped back and picked up my slipper and tried to smash it on the side of the bed, and it fucking disappeared. And I spent probably 10 minutes with my phone and the flashlight part of my phone crawling around on the carpet trying to find this fucking spider, tweaking and twitching every time I felt a little anything anywhere because I thought for sure it was the fucking spider crawling on me.
Well, that would have been one of the ones you statistically eat every year then.
Maybe.
If you would have just kept crawling around on you at night.
I wonder if that's accurate.
I don't know.
It's not.
It's way too many
all the time.
It's not. I've looked it up.
There has to have been a guy that ate like 100,000 spiders, and he just throws the statistic way off.
So the average for everybody? Yeah.
He's the guy that fucks up the bell curve on the test.
Some poor fucker with sleep apnea who lives in the Congo. just swallowing spiders all night long.
He just sleeps on a pile of rotting lumber.
We do have tarantulas in Utah.
Uh-huh.
I've seen them.
Yep.
Out in the desert. Scared the shit out of me the first time I saw one. And I've only seen one that one time. I was like, did I just fucking see what I think I saw? And I had to go home, get on the internet. I'm like, sure as shit, I saw what I fucking thought I saw.
They're not really venomous, though.
No, but they're big.
Yeah, they're big and hairy, but...
And it's not something I didn't expect to see, because at the time I didn't realize that we had tarantulas in the desert out here.
They're beefy, too. Like they're weighty.
They'd be a good appetizer.
No?
Fuck
that.
I heard they taste good, actually.
You have to put them right in the fire, though, to get all the hairs off.
Yeah. Then you deep fry it, because everything deep fried is fucking delicious.
Yeah, after you singe all the hairs. Because
deep fried spider?
I've heard people say spiders don't taste that bad.
Dude, people all over the world eat insects all the time, yeah.
Of the insects, go for spiders.
Oh, God. No.
I know what I'm going to go find online.
No. Tracy will do this thing where she will send me pictures of little people every now and then, just to fuck with me.
Like that midget on the stripper pole?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, she'll try to find what she thinks will creep me out the most, and will send me a picture of it. And it works more often than not. And I'm trying to make it not work, so...
I kind of like little people.
Yeah? Do you think they're going to give you candy, or...
I don't know. I don't really care. It's sort of like, yeah, come over here. You're interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure it's something, I don't know. I've never known a little person my entire life. And for whatever reason, I've had recurring nightmares of...
It's so bizarre, man.
It is. I mean, it's fucking bizarre. And I feel like a terrible person.
We're talking about them as if they're not normal humans.
Shit.
Right. Yeah.
But
I feel like a terrible person for feeling this way, and so I'm doing what I can to get over it, because...
There's only 3 left.
I feel like an asshole. Newport Jerky Company edible dehydrated zebra tarantula.
On Amazon.
Don't fucking order that shit for me.
I'd probably try it.
Here's salted cans.
I will drive to your house and beat you to death with the can.
Well, we got salted canned.
You should beat up his garbage can. That seems to work.
Oh my fuck! Earthworm jerky?
Nope, not interested.
Canned edible smoked rattlesnake?
Nope.
When you type in,
that might be all right.
Hi, this is Justin Schieber, formerly of the Reasonable Doubts podcast and currently of Real Atheology, and you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
The evidence that it's a racist penalty is overwhelming. All the figures confirm that it is applied in the most abruptly differential way, as between black and white people of America, and that it is indeed in large parts of the country a legacy of the time when sharp reminders were needed as to who was running the show. But it could equally well be argued that's an objection to racism, not to capital punishment. It could be argued what we need then, therefore, is not a punishment that is inflicted in a racist way. After all, it can even be said, this is a racist society, or a society in recovery from racism. Other penalties, too, are applied differentially. Very well. It could be argued, let's have a non-racist application of the human sacrifice principle. Let me just say that equal opportunity human sacrifice would not meet any of the objections we have to human sacrifice on this side of the house.
You and the Godless Rebelution will be reassimilated in 3, 2, 1.
I've had rattlesnake before.
I've had rattlesnake before, yeah.
I was trying to survive in the woods. It didn't go very well. True story.
Just like as a hobby, as a test,
we watched.
You didn't get lost, and we're relying on your survival skills.
We did it on purpose, and it was fucking stupid. I probably should have died.
It sounds stupid. I think we've all done shit when we were younger that we're surprised that we still have all of our limbs and appendages.
We had a buddy drop us off in the woods, and we had like 0 supplies with us, and we told him to come pick us up in 5 days.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, it was. Day 3, we went for help.
Was this in the Wisconsin woods?
No, this was up here in the mountains in Utah in June, not thinking it was going to be snowing and freezing rain at night. We're having to fight off hypothermia to stay alive while trying to start a fire, just shaking all night long for 2 nights. And like, dude, we are freezing.
We're going to die if we stay up here.
So ironically, we started hiking back out to the road. We found a camera on one of the paths that we got back onto, and it was a wildlife camera, like a DNR, Natural Resources guys, one of their cameras.
Yeah.
We picked it up and had a number. I'm like, well, we'll get it back to him.
Yeah.
The fucker was looking for it, and he drove by in his truck, and we waved him down. He's like, We're like, hey, man, is this your camera?
The fuck are you dipshits doing out here?
That comes second. So I said, is this your camera? Did you lose this? And I hand it to him, and he fucking takes off. Then I see him hit the brakes, and he comes back and goes, are you guys all right? We're like, no, we're not all right.
Were you guys like yelling and screaming for him to come back? Or
We're
stop
like,
or
we're more like, are you fucking serious, dude?
Wait, so he just snatched up his camera, didn't even say shit, just like rolled up his window and fucking took off?
Yeah. But he came back. He reversed back to us, and he was like, are you guys okay?
Typical DNR. Right?
We're like, no. Can you get us to a payphone or to shelter? So he drove us down the road to the rest stop area that had a payphone at it, and we called and got somebody to come pick us up.
Can I just say something too? I was thinking about this the other day. What the fuck happened to all the payphones? Like, I mean, I understand why they aren't making anymore.
It got so expensive.
But where did they go? I never saw anyone taking them out. They're just gone.
And I specifically watched this phone at 7-Eleven for 4 fucking days straight. I get up to go pee, and then it's gone.
And then it just disappeared. Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're...
Were they ever there to begin with?
Mm-hmm. But it's weird, right? They're just, I mean, of course it makes sense they don't have them, but
we need to call Mulder and
Scully. When did they get rid of
Scully.
them all? That's weird.
It's like birds. You don't see dead birds very often.
Well, no.
Sure. Dude, you see dead birds all the
I do.
time.
Yeah, that's not true.
For as many live birds as you see around?
Yeah, they get eaten pretty quick.
Yeah.
Owls, hawks.
What is your point, though?
Oh, just that they disappear.
Oh, my buddy took out a fucking
it's like
owl.
clearly they've got to
ago.
die sometime, right? But then they just disappear.
Yeah, it would have been funny to watch us all at the fire station. The guy hit an owl with his truck, and it was stuck in his grill.
Oh, God.
He hit it with his face?
No, his truck.
Oh.
So the owl was stuck between the grill and the radiator.
Oh, okay.
And we're all going out there. We're like, dude, it's unconscious, man. It's gonna fucking wake up as soon as you touch it. It's gonna fucking wake up. This literally the talons on this thing. His hand was with the size of my hand. It was a huge fucking owl. Like when we pulled it out, we're like, holy! He had to have a good 4 or 5 foot wingspan on that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like a big barn owl.
I've heard owls are not nearly as wise as people think they are.
This fucker flew right into his truck.
Hey, that thing's moving really fast toward me.
Well, that's what he said. He said he was coming up. Usually all the crows like fly out of the way.
Yeah.
And he said all of a sudden he just saw the thing look towards him and smack.
I'll scare this truck away.
That was a pretty good owl.
Thank you. I've been practicing all week.
I think they hoot traditionally.
Hoot.
Oh no, that's the restaurant.
Oh, yeah, okay. They go.
Do it.
No, I can't.
What do they do? What do they do, Dan?
You guys should have seen his face.
What
He was all ready to go.
What do they do?
And then he just stopped.
What did they do?
Now I'm not going to be able to do it because if I try, I'm just going to keep laughing.
No, you already did it. Remember, they go, caw! Caw, caw, the owl. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Nice.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's bad. See, my grandfather used to teach me how to
Closer than caw.
do bird calls for turkey hunting and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And what you would say to make the owl one was, who cooks for you? But you'd have the thing you're blowing into.
Uh-huh.
You'd say, who cooks for you?
What do you blow into?
It's this like a duck decoy type thing, but it's one for owls.
Oh, it's like an owl call.
It's like an owl call. It makes the owl noise, and turkeys react to it.
Why do turkeys react to it?
I don't know if it was if it gets
Is
them
it
out
a
of their
turkey
roost.
call or an owl call?
No, it's an owl. It's a call that makes owl noises, but turkeys react to it.
Huh, that's really weird.
Turkeys are supposed to be really stupid too.
Yeah,
Turkeys are actually really fucking smart. Those little fucking assholes.
Maybe to Wisconsinites. I don't think to anybody else.
It's my understanding, and it could be wrong because maybe it's just something people say, but I hear that they can drown in the rain because they fucking look up and just drown.
But they live in trees.
Turkeys?
No. Oh, yeah. Yes, they do. Turkeys roost in trees.
Oh, they roost, yeah.
They live in trees, swing from branch to branch.
Well, no.
They can't fly.
At night, they're up in trees. They fly up in the trees. They hang out in trees.
They fight with gibbons for the best space in the jungle.
This show has turned into a shit show.
I don't know what's going on right now.
Hey, you wanted something happy.
I feel better.
Now, I think I know why the Conservatives, who always know when and when not to oppose big government, the reason they behave like this, I conclude, is that their attachment to this fetish is deep-rooted in a way they didn't quite succeed in justifying to us. It means something to them in the preservation of their authority, and it gives me an additional reason for wishing to see them stripped of it.
Should we get into some angry news?
Sure. About what?
I don't know. We probably got something angry we can talk about.
Should we talk about the death penalty?
Let's go there.
What are your guys' thoughts on the death penalty? I don't know if we've ever talked about it before.
I think we talked about it
maybe
once.
Because I don't see any good reason for it. To me, it's vengeance, and I'll teach you a lesson, and that's it.
It is, but I also think that putting someone in solitary confinement for the rest of their life is also a form of cruel and unusual punishment.
I agree with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either of those are humane.
So then it comes to the dilemma: what do you do with a person who really can't be integrated back into society?
Put them in prison.
But what kind of prison? There's multiple levels of prison. Like, you got prisons where you don't get to go out of your cell at all, where you're just in there and you get to go do your 1 hour a yard a day. You get to hang out with other people. You get to be integrated.
I think the government's job is to come up with the most humane rules they can, and you let the prison work out the schedule and the regiment. You don't give the prison officials 100% control over punishment and deciding how they're going to teach somebody a lesson when they really have no idea what's going on.
That falls into the other problem we have.
Mm-hmm.
Is the for-profit prisons.
Against it.
Well, that's what majority of our country has, and that's something has become unavoidable at this point because it's grown so big.
Yeah, I'm not for it.
So, and I'm not either. I think it's a barbaric practice that really is only used and meted out to satisfy bloodlust of people.
Mm-hmm. The eye for an eye thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and for some people, it's not even necessarily an eye for an eye. I have been talking or discussing this with people on Facebook for the past couple days. The thing that inspired wanting to talk about this tonight was that Dylann Roof, who wandered into a black church in Charleston, South Carolina in June of 2015 and shot and killed, how many people was it? 5?
It was most of the people. I thought you only left one person alive.
I feel bad that I can't remember.
Because it wasn't like a church service. It was like a prayer group.
So he killed 9 people, including the senior pastor and State Senator Clementa C. Pinckney. But he apparently did this. His stated motive for doing so was that he wanted to incite a race war.
Yeah.
He is a racist little douchebag who wandered into a black church specifically to kill black people in an effort to start a race war because he's mentally unhealthy.
And his flag of choice was the Confederate flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So he went with a historical
racist
insignia
symbol.
and historical piece of. Yeah, it's fucking racist, guys.
Yeah, but he was recently sentenced to death.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and he acted as his own lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And
often they do.
Like I said earlier before, we record everything. It appeared that this was his ultimate goal, was to get the death sentence.
Well, I don't know that it was his ultimate goal. I think after he was apprehended and in representing himself in court, I think he actually even said in court that he wanted to be put to death.
Yeah. But he made sure he hit all the criteria of stuff that warrants the death sentence in most states, which is, you're legally sane. You show zero remorse for what you did.
Mm-hmm. Well, at this point, he has pretty strong motive to die sooner rather than later.
Yeah, he said he's 21.
Yeah, he's either going to rot in a cell or he's going to be put to death before then.
And he's typically not a person who's going to go to jail and die right away at getting beat because he's not a rapist or molester. He's a murderer, and they don't mind those people in jail.
Serial killers, maybe it's a little different. I mean, not always. It depends, but yeah, typically they do better than pedos for sure.
Yeah.
What bothers me is that the United States is supposed to be this forward-thinking, advanced, free society who condemns the inhumane acts of other countries and their peoples.
It's not much of any of those things.
Keyword supposed to.
And yet we are the only Western country left in the world who executes offenders.
Mexico does it?
With great regularity.
No. Oh, okay.
No.
I assumed Mexico would still have.
Nope. Mexico does not have the death penalty.
I know Canada doesn't.
Canada does not have the death penalty. I believe that there are only 3 or 4 first world countries who still have the death penalty, capital punishment
Australia?
in place. No, Australia does not.
Well, and first world could be a little bit, because if you're talking about some of the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia and stuff like that, they're first world in terms of revenue, but not in terms of
their
culture and practice.
Yeah.
Or just the way their citizens live as a majority.
Yeah.
So I actually looked this up last night and posted it, but there are 4 countries considered to be industrialized nations who still execute criminals. That's the United States, Japan, Singapore, and Taiwan. And beyond that, no.
Interesting.
And I talked to Tracy last night. I'm like, well, is China considered a first world country? Technically, they are not. They are a second world country.
Okay.
And they carry out the highest number of executions by far. They're
They'll be a first world country by March, and will be a second world country by March.
After the Trumpocalypse.
Well, yeah, Trump praised Singapore in using the death sentence on killing people with drug charges.
But the defenses that I have heard from people for the death penalty, at least in this case, are that, there are some people who are just beyond rehabilitation, beyond remorse, beyond redemption, and they should be killed.
Okay. So how do you decide and why?
Yeah, what is the bar we're setting? And killing them accomplishes what? What does it do?
Mm-hmm.
And the replies that I got to that were that they're not a burden on society, that we don't have to worry about them escaping from prison, that they can't continue their criminal enterprise while they're in prison.
How the fuck?
And inspiring people or getting followers while they are in prison.
So that strikes me as a strange sympathy for other prisoners suddenly.
Well,
other prisoners and people outside the prison system whom they may be directing in their actions.
Then Manson should have a whole army out there by now.
People were using Manson as the case study in this, that he still inspires people.
But how many people have killed in the name of Manson since?
I don't know. None that I know of off the top of my head.
I can't think of anybody that's ever claimed they've killed in the name of Manson since.
And whether he were alive or dead, there's still the history of Manson and his murderers and his cult followers out there.
Yeah.
Whether he's alive or not, there is still that information out and available for people to stumble onto and be inspired by.
And we know what it's like, Jesus, to make somebody a martyr, and how long their fucking followers will cling to it.
Somebody made a comment saying
nothing. No,
I was going to go with Hitler.
Just move right on.
No, sorry, I was.
No, you're good,
I was.
You're good.
I was in my own head, but that is a great point.
Jesus got the death penalty, and for 2,000 years we haven't been able to forget it. Wow. If you want somebody to not have a legacy, you let them slowly die and wither away in prison.
But Jesus killed himself.
Yeah, I guess that could be taken that way. Yeah,
he knew what was going to happen.
Impregnated somebody with himself to sacrifice himself to himself.
So he killed himself.
In order to satisfy himself.
He allowed himself to be killed, I think is probably more accurate. But
well, yeah, but he knew it was going to happen before the impregnation. So I was like, okay,
but
if I do this, I know I'm going to get killed in a horrific way. If I don't do this, I get to have fun up here in heaven.
Yeah, that all depends on your view of the triune God and all of that.
And who?
But still, I think a large, maybe not large, at least some amount of this argument comes down to, again, free will and determinism.
Well, yeah, so, like I said, the arguments that I heard were the ones that I just listed. Fear of him escaping prison. That one can be shot down by knowing the fact that whether he is sentenced to death or not, he is still going to spend the next several years, if not decades,
in a maximum security
prison awaiting execution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you know that, sure, if he is in prison for the next 40 or 50 or even 60, 70 years versus the next 10 to 20 or however many,
30,
those extra years do carry an extra potential of him escaping somehow.
But
and continuing.
either way, you have the risk. The risk is present either way.
Yeah, the risk is present in either scenario. So that argument doesn't really carry a lot of weight with me.
Nope.
And I think a death row inmate is the least likely to escape from prison.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're constantly watched.
They're confined to a cell by themselves.
But still, that means that they're on death row, which means that they've been sentenced to die.
No, but instead of
just living there,
instead of having the death part of that row, have for life row.
And also,
you're here for life on this row.
And also on the burden to society, people on death row cost taxpayers way more than people who aren't, because there's the
appeal process.
Appeals.
Yeah.
The constant appeals and all of the extra care and attention that is shown to them to keep them alive until we kill them.
Until we make sure we can kill them. Yeah. So the burden on society is that's not a valid argument either.
Yeah.
They're a bigger burden when they're put on death row.
Yeah. That was the one defense of the death penalty that I didn't include in the list that I just mentioned, is that there were several people who said that, you know, it's more expensive to house them for the rest of their lives, to take care of them, to provide, you know, meals and clothing and guards and a place to stay and education and whatever else for them versus killing them. But that is also untrue.
Yep.
It costs much, much more to sentence them to death and put them on death row and go through all of the appeals process, the mandatory appeals process, by the way. Whether he wants the appeals to happen or not, there is a mandatory appeals process that takes place for good reason.
For good reason. Yeah. And, you know, if you want a good case of somebody who didn't want to have any of the appeals happen, but still had to go, look at the case of Eileen Wuornos.
Yeah.
And you can see her in court every time. I don't fucking want to do this. Kill me already. Just get it over with. Kill me. But they have to go through with it.
Right.
She didn't want any of it.
Right.
But she had to go through. So now you're talking about lawyers and doctors getting involved. Who's going to jack up money faster than lawyers and doctors when you're talking about death row?
Yeah. And to say, and a lot of people made the case or tried to make the case that, you know, he chose to do this. He's a sick and twisted individual who chose to go into a church and kill all of these people. Okay. You can say that, and it can be argued that that's the case, but
total red herring. Anybody
who does choose to do that clearly has something wrong with them, right? They have a mental health issue that led them to do that, whether it is through genetics, whether it's because they were influenced by something else, whether it's neglect or that they were abused themselves. I mean, there's something that happened in this person's life to make their thoughts that twisted.
Also, as if there's something magical out there that once a certain person chooses a certain thing, then it's totally okay to kill them for it. As if that makes it okay all of a sudden. Oh, well, he chose to do that, so we get to kill him, right? We can kill him, right? Why? Why? How did you get from A to B?
Yeah, why does their choice make that all of a sudden?
Yeah, why is it now all of a sudden we're talking about the death penalty here? Why?
Yeah, why is their choice to do it the deciding factor?
Well, he took their lives, so we should take his. Again.
Well,
why? What does it accomplish?
According to what I see here, the average time a person spends on death row is 15 years. 25% of people on death row die of natural causes awaiting execution. And the longest a person spent on death row was 33 years. And the oldest person ever on death row was 94 years old, and he died of natural causes.
The other part that comes into play in this is that the states and the federal government are having a very difficult time obtaining the cocktail of drugs necessary to execute somebody.
Which is another thing I have an issue with, the specific cocktails they use. But
we can just make them ride the lightning.
Not many states have that anymore.
No. I think it's probably Texas, since they're about a little behind.
Texas and China.
I mean, they're never mind. I was going to say they're more behind than Utah, but Utah still has execution firing squad.
Right.
Which is more humane than both lethal injection and electric chair.
As long as the guy hits the target.
Yeah, I would say almost even without.
Well, I mean, they're supposed to shoot you in the heart.
Yeah, if they miss the heart slightly, I'd still rather take a bullet to the chest than a fucking electric chair.
Well, I'm not even going with like just missing the heart slightly,
or
but
the
the guy
lethal injection. Yeah,
the guy's like, oh, I don't want to have to be the one to shoot him, so he just kind of aims somewhere else.
I believe in Utah you can also be executed by hanging.
I don't think so.
No,
I thought hanging was outlawed everywhere.
I think that hanging has been outlawed for a while
in the U.S. at least.
Yeah, I'll have to double check that. I thought for some reason that it was still legal in Utah. I could be. It sounds like I probably am totally wrong. But
I think that's. I was going to say I think that one was cruel and unusual, but maybe not.
I mean, to me,
I don't know why hanging would be and electric chair or lethal injection aren't, but
yeah. But I mean, murdering somebody because they murdered somebody else just has never made any sense.
To show that
murdering
murdering is wrong. Yeah.
It has never made any sense to me at all. I can remember even when I was a little kid, there were a couple things about death and people killing other people that have never made any sense to me. It has never made any sense to me back when I was a little kid and somewhat a believer of God and Jesus and all of that stuff, that the Bible says, thou shalt not kill, and yet we have all of these people who go off to war and kill people and then are considered heroes. That never made any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it has never made any sense to me that we would sentence people to die and call that just, because the Bible doesn't say, thou shalt not kill unless that person has murdered 5 people.
Yeah. In fact, it's not even entirely clear that it means thou shalt not kill humans.
It just says thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
So, big game
So we have
hunters,
to make
again.
one correction there. It is still legal to be executed by hanging in Washington and New Hampshire.
Oh,
really?
But not Utah.
But not Utah.
Wow.
2 typically fairly liberal states. Although New Hampshire, I'm not sure anymore.
That's interesting. But yeah, the only responses that I saw, really, or the majority of them, were all in satisfying bloodlust.
Yep.
But here's another.
Even people who said, typically I would agree and disagree that we should have capital punishment at all, but fuck this guy in particular.
Right.
And it's just to satisfy their vengeance and bloodlust.
Mm-hmm.
I understand some Christians wanting to do it because in their mind, they're sending this person on their way to hell to be tortured for all eternity.
That makes even less sense to me.
Yeah.
When you're looking at it from a vengeance standpoint, eye for an eye, you're going to go to hell and I'm going to send you there sooner.
But it's not eye for an eye. How often do we hear that when they argue with us?
Right.
Jesus changed that rule. It's all about peace and love and mercy until they're in a position of power. And then all of a sudden, no, it is the vengeful, nasty asshole God that comes roaring back. Just like in this case. Why would you hasten anybody's term in hell? Why would you do that? If you honestly really believe hell exists and someone could spend an eternity there as a decent human being and especially as the Christians you claim to be and based on all the values you claim to hold, wouldn't you cling as tightly as you could to keeping them on earth?
Well,
to prolonging the life here before they have to go to that miserable place.
Especially all of the purported.
Wouldn't you do that?
The purportedly pro-life people.
That's humane.
One of the people that was in the court, that was a family member of the one that was in the church that got killed, apparently said, and I'm probably misquoting it here, it was something along the lines of, now you get to meet your maker.
Now you're going to meet your maker.
Now you're going to meet your maker gets to deal with you now, or something like that.
It was, quote, your creator, he's coming for you.
Oh, that's okay, yeah. So that right there, I mean, that's like, they're like, oh, you're going to die now and you're going to be punished.
Yep.
In the worst place to be punished, which is hell.
Yeah.
Turn the other cheek, that goes out the window.
Yeah, again, we're in this, here's how humans behave when they have or have a perceived position of power.
Yeah.
No mercy, no negotiation, pure vengeance, wrath. You're going to feel it now. Now you're going to feel the wrath of my God who's on my side. My team's going to win.
Yeah.
That's all. It comes down to tribalism every time.
Well, can they explain to me how anybody who is a normal human being would choose to mass murder people. Like, there has to be something wrong with you, right? There has to be something wrong with you.
I would think so.
To choose to do that, to want to do that. And even though there's something wrong with this person, there's something fundamentally wrong with them that led them to where they are today, these people are like, no, fuck it, I don't care. Fucking kill him.
That's what I'm saying. No mercy, no negotiation.
But there's people that are clinically like insane that don't think what they did was bad, and people that do it knowing, oh no, I know what I do is a horrible thing, but I still wanted to do it. Which is...
It doesn't make it any more normal.
No, but I mean, that's where you kind of go, well, yeah, there might be something wrong with you on liking to kill someone, but...
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say when there were a couple things about, you know, death and murder and people killing other people that never made sense to me. One was going to war. The other was... Fucking now I just lost it again. Never mind. It'll come to me again.
I was trying not to
I need to write it down.
Well, yeah.
Well, so even back to what you were saying, you know, somebody who would choose to kill a whole bunch of people, something's wrong with them. Even if it's not somebody who would choose to do it, even if it's someone who's compelled to do it under determinism, something's still wrong with them.
I remembered when you said choose to kill, and so it's the whole insanity defense that people try to get off from killing somebody by reasons of insanity.
Yeah.
And that's never made sense to me, because in order to want to kill somebody and to do it, you have to have some sort of mental health issue. You are insane, right?
Well, I would go
in a case like this, yes. You know, when it's like, you know, you have these situations where there's been this long history and this massive, you know, trouble with, you know, a married couple or whatever, and guy comes home from work and catches his wife in bed with this one.
Well, then they claim temporary insanity.
Sure. Okay.
In attempting to express society's disapproval via the state in this way, you'd have to, I think, add very largely to the number of capital offenses, horrific rapes, for example, that don't actually take life. And you'd have to very substantially lower the age at which the state could send someone to the chair or the gas chamber or the guillotine. Now, of course, in the societies of Western and Southern Europe, where this penalty was until recently enforced, all those things did happen all the time. They did execute children, they did execute the insane, they did execute people preemptively, and they vastly increased the number of offenses for which someone could be executed. And it was the very confrontation with that diminishing return, with the complete non sequitur of capital punishment as an answer to murder, with the disconnection between the problem of depravity and murder and the supposed solution, that all these societies disencumbered themselves. Germany doesn't do it. Hungary doesn't do it. Even the British, for whom it attained something like the status of a national fetish, finally were able to break themselves of the habit.
Rejoining the Godless Rebelution podcast now.
Well, I've heard this said by some friends of mine that were actually did a lot of actual combat. Like firing guns every day and having to defend themselves, saying that there were guys that did it because it was what we had to do to, you know, you had to do it to survive. You had to do it to be able to make it through and go home. And there were guys that did it because they fucking liked it.
Yeah.
They liked killing people.
I'm sure there's a number of those people serving in our armed forces.
And on our police forces.
Quite a few. And that's where you get some of those cases, like the case where the guy was the whistleblower. And he's in jail now for blowing the whistle on it because he did what he had to do so his own sergeant didn't kill him. Because they're like, we have drop guns, we have munitions, we have stuff so we can go kill an Iraqi. We'll put the stuff on him when you're clear. And they're making him do it. Saying if you don't kill him, we'll make sure that on the next mission, you don't fucking come back alive.
Well, and beyond the people who... I'm certainly not all people who serve in our military or on the police force are like that, but there are a certain number of them in both fields who do that. There are the number of people who jump for joy and are so excited at the thought and the possibility of being one of the people on the firing squad to shoot at a person here in Utah when they are put to death. They have a lottery because they have so many people
because you legally
applying
get
and wanting
to murder
do it.
someone.
Yeah.
It's legal murder.
As it happens, I have a thought about this.
You do?
Yeah.
And it goes all the way back to early this year One of my sticky notes that never made it into a show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, forcing a Christian clerk to issue same-sex marriage licenses violates their deeply held religious beliefs, and government should not dictate those kinds of things. How many Christians are executioners for the state? Isn't thou shalt not kill a deeply held belief for you? Texas executes more than any other state, and I'm pretty sure there are also Christians there. Any of them ever flipped the electric chair switch? Pulled the trigger in a firing squad, injected that lethal dose? So it is about discrimination, or maybe murder doesn't matter, and you'd be happy to let the abortion thing go.
What is the justification they use for that to themselves?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, is it that they're defending other people?
It's more.
And the thing is, too, is when they do an execution, it's blind.
I'm going to make sure that this person can't kill again.
The person who actually
I'm a
is
hero.
the one who does the injection, shoots the bullet, whatever. They don't know if they're the one who did it or if one of the other people were the one who did it.
Yeah, I realize that, but it's
still them wanting to do it, though.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately it doesn't matter. If Christians really believed the stuff they try to get us to believe about their religion, all the fancy stuff, all the kind and nice lacy stuff,
all the things that make my religion wonderful.
Right. If they really believed that stuff, this is the reason why we're not buying into it, right? Because we see the way they fucking behave, and it's nothing like the bullshit they're trying to sell us. And if they really acted in a way that was like what they're trying to sell us, there wouldn't be a firing squad. There wouldn't be a lethal. They wouldn't have to hide it. So, no one knows what I guarantee if you took away the anonymity, nobody would care. They would do it anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
They wouldn't fucking care. Yeah. So that's a formality. The fact is, they're trying to tell us that it's peace, love, and mercy, but they're acting like it's blood, vengeance, and murder, which is exactly what the Bible is.
Yeah.
And we try to call them out on that, and they hate us for it. Because we don't buy their bullshit. We see the forest through the trees. So
yeah, well, one that brings me to the last point I really wanted to talk about on the subject is that why would we as atheists care about this and think that it's a good thing to get other
our show
people
is back to religion
to get other people to realize that the death penalty is a bad thing. And as atheists, we know that evolution is a thing.
Yes.
Right? We understand, most atheists. Most. When I say all atheists, blah, 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 understand I'm saying most, okay? I know that there are some really, really stupid atheists out there who just don't believe in a God for whatever reason.
I would just call them dense.
But
there's some stupid ones.
Atheists, by and large, accept the reality that we are here through a process of evolution. And part of that evolution should be an evolution of thought. I mean, otherwise, why the fuck are we doing any of this? Why are we participating in any enterprise at all if we're not trying to improve not just our health and general well-being, but the way in which we think about things and the world around us?
Improve society and get rid of archaic
And so why wouldn't we want to throw off any and all barbaric trappings of animalistic instincts and reactions to things that are emotionally ingrained in us? I understand the desire, the want, the need to exact vengeance on somebody, right? You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back. It's an animalistic instinctive
it's a base
response.
desire.
But but
we should be better than that.
Yeah, but that person gains nothing from it in reality. They're not going to fill a void by taking that vengeance.
It's chest thumping.
Yeah, nothing changes. The only thing that changes when you kill that person is that person is now dead. It doesn't fix anything they've done in the past. It doesn't fix anything going forward. It's not a deterrent. It is bloodlust. It is satisfying your base animalistic urges to hurt something.
It's control over another person.
And if it was a deterrent, it wouldn't fucking happen.
It's not a deterrent.
No, it isn't. Because if it was a deterrent, we wouldn't see people fucking killing other people.
Yeah. How are there still people to kill? How does China still execute more people than any? How is there anybody? If it was a deterrent, one person would die. Like Cain or whoever right after Adam, and everyone would go, "Oh shit, that's for real." Okay, nothing else. We're good. We're good over here. And nobody would ever do it again. It's not a deterrent, which also lends credence to the fact that there is a psychological, emotional problem going on with somebody who doesn't take that as a deterrent.
And for the Christian people, I'm sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to cut you off, but for the Christian believers or people of any religious faith out there,
any hypocrites
who do believe that capital punishment is a good thing, why would you do that if you're simultaneously holding on to the notion that there is an afterlife and the person,
right?
You know, if you are a family member of a person who was murdered and you want to exact revenge on this person who killed them by sending them to hell, why aren't you instead celebrating the fact that your loved one is now sitting in a mansion kicking back with Jesus?
Right.
Well, so Uncle Rob was an asshole.
It's actually threefold for Christians to not want the death penalty, right? One is that. One is, okay, well, I'm going to be eternally with the people I love, so you shouldn't really be worrying about anything. Two,
yeah, any temporal thing is nothing. It's
right,
fleeting. It's
if you really believe it,
inconsequential.
Which they fucking don't, because they don't behave like they believe it an ounce.
Yeah.
The second thing is the hell issue, right? So if you know that person's going to hell for sending you to eternal bliss with your mate or whatever, who fucking cares? And three, aren't you still a little bit upset about the capital punishment 2,000 years ago? Doesn't that still kind of bother you a little bit? Sure it does. It's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing you've based your religion on.
I think people just don't want to admit that we're still animals.
They're just Hypochristians, man. They're pretending to be Christians, but they're not trying to do any of it. They're just saying, yep, I was raised with it, and I believe the people I grew up with more than I believe any of you fuckers, so they're right, you're not, but I'm still going to do everything I want because I don't care. Humans are just going to be humans.
I do wonder if it would be more of a deterrent to tell someone, well, if you murder someone and you get, the harshest punishment, you're going to sit in a 10x10 with no human interaction for the rest of your life.
Nope.
I don't think it would be a
People
deterrent.
still do it.
No, but it's not a quick way out like death is.
I mean, they know there are going to be consequences. They know prisons exist.
You cannot make up a bigger deterrent than hell. It's already maxed out.
Yeah, but
it's totally maxed out. There's no way to go bigger than that.
If you believe in a hell.
Plenty of Christians do wrong things.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of Christians murder people.
Yeah. More Christians than atheists murder people. More Muslims than atheists murder people. And they all believe in the maxed out hell.
But don't forget that Christian doesn't think he's going to hell. Because all he's got to do is repent at the end and he's going to heaven.
I know. But it's still not a deterrent.
But if they honestly believe that, then why the fuck would they care about anything anybody does as long as they repent right before they die?
Because they don't think about it. It's
the golden key.
It's right back to themselves. That's what it is.
It's I've got a golden ticket.
Anyway, well, thanks for talking to me about that, guy. Yeah, I've been arguing with people for the past couple days, but they've been, what has been encouraging about it though is that I'd say 90% of my interactions with people about this topic in particular have all been
productive.
Yeah, productive. They've all been amicable, very good conversations about it.
They haven't been going, well, you're just a dummy.
It hasn't resorted into, well, fuck you fucking asshole, you're just fucking stupid. Yeah. So, that's good. I like that there's been good discourse about this in my discussions with people about it.
All right, well, what do we have next?
I am Jim Helton, Regional Director for American Atheists and President of the Tri-State Freethinkers, and you're listening to Godless Revolution.
The next rant will start right after this.
Now, the state may order you to risk your life. It may order you to fight. It may even, many states have, order you to kill. But it may not order you to die. And we are so fascinated by states that will order death that we realize the moral and historical sewer of ancestor worship and hierarchy from which this disgusting apparatus has come. And in saying we reject it and repudiate it, we reject also the beastly system of big government opportunistically deployed, which it represents. Thank you.
So I think the last thing, one of the last things, maybe second to last thing tonight.
Yeah.
Matt has a longish thing that he's prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Prepared.
Or what matters?
You Preparation H'd it.
It is a what matters. We have not had one of these for quite some time,
It's
sir.
true. It's true.
It's been months.
So I'm excited. This one apparently is long.
It is longish, but I think it's necessary.
All right.
Yes, sir. Selfish, lazy, idealistic, naive, and entitled. I hear it over and over and over again about millennials. It comes with the implication that the accusers aren't those things. They must be selfless hard workers who are wise and humble. Some of it's coming from Gen Xers, but by far, most of it comes from the boomers. Those born between 1946 and 1964. I've gotten so tired of it that I decided to see what the boomers have been getting up to for the last half century, and if they really are as great as they think they are.
Uh-oh.
Of course, millennials aren't perfect, but when it comes to fault-finding from a high horse, nobody does it quite like the boomers. An entire generation without mirrors, only telescopes. You like finger-pointing so much? Then you won't mind if I do a little of my own. Dear baby boomers, specifically the conservative ones, a much larger percentage of the population than we might like to think, this is a sarcastic thank you letter. I had to explain it's sarcastic because, as I'll outline here, there's a real possibility that you're far too self-centered and narcissistic to pick up on it, and you may well think this is meant in genuine, sincere praise as you've become so accustomed to giving yourselves. Let's start in the 1930s, a time when your parents, the greatest generation and the silent generation, were living through real sacrifice, scraping by in the Great Depression with another world war looming. They had low wages, but elected politicians who raised taxes to help pay their bills, and they dug themselves out. They helped win the improbable war over an ever-expanding Hitler army, and came home to a stronger job market and a rising economy. They worked hard to keep that old, dare I say sacred oath, that we should give our children a better country than we inherited. And they did. You boomers broke this oath, and were the first generation to give your kids a worse country than you got. Admittedly, this would be a large task for you, but unfortunately it should be a trivial thing for millennials to do better than you. As long as you aren't also voting, that is. But we boomers need to vote because millennials are idiots, says the generation that made a millionaire out of the inventor of pet rocks.
They bought them.
You didn't follow your parents' lead. You didn't think about the future. You voted consistently against paying your bills by giving yourselves tax cuts, so you could take advantage of the economy your parents built, but not pay into it. The ultimate have your cake and eat it too thinking. You came into the workforce at a time when high school diploma got you a decent paying entry-level job, where you could reasonably expect to move up, get raises, have stability and loyalty from a company and a retirement. Now millennials have to compete with a master's degree for an entry-level job worth $12 an hour and crippling amounts of debt. Thus, they end up working 2 or 3 jobs to not quite make ends meet. If I had $1 for every time I heard a boomer complain about millennials, I could almost buy a house, even in the economy you ruined. The millennials have demonstrated that they are willing to pay a much higher percentage of their wages than you to help shoulder the baby boom burden, even higher than you're willing to pay for yourselves. They were excited about a new candidate that would keep Social Security alive. But, as if it was some sort of Krampus-style Christmas gift, you fought tooth and nail to deny your children's request for the president of their choice, for their first positive political experience, and for the first taste of that my vote actually does matter feeling. And instead, you voted for your own personal benefit yet again. You did it even knowing it would be to the detriment of those who will live to deal with the consequences by giving us Trump. Your parents fought to eliminate the swastika, and you put one in the White House.
Oh, snap.
Never mind the fact that you won't be getting anything from this presidency either. The point is that you thought you would, and nothing else mattered. So congratulations, you did it. We had a real chance to try and turn things around, to try and begin repairing the damage your selfish voting has caused. You had a real chance to join, to accept a tiny shred of responsibility, to make it right by giving your kids and grandkids a glimpse of the hopeful America you so richly benefited from. Your answer? Fuck you, not my problem. When millennials get bored, Yes, they play Pokemon Go. When you get bored, you ruin economies and vote for Brexit. I realize you're under no real obligation to give your children the president they want, but as part of the largest voting bloc in U.S. history, you do have an ethical duty to do what is best for the whole. But I wouldn't expect you to be so magnanimous. Your voting record demonstrates your interests. Yourselves. Let's not forget that your short-sighted, self-indulgent voting has given us a conservative majority, possibly supermajority Supreme Court, for the Millennials' lifetime, not just yours. So fuck you very much. I should give you some credit here for agreeing with at least some younger adults about Trump. You certainly have a lot in common with the Nickelback, Affliction, and Axe body spray crowd.
You went Nickelback.
You went full Nickelback. You should never go full Nickelback.
But why Trump? Yes, he was the nominee. He wasn't your first choice. Yeah. But mostly I hear that he's not Hillary. Why the seething hatred for Clinton? She's a boomer after all. Well, sort of. She represents a sort of treasonous betrayal of a boomer. Not because of the emails or Benghazi, but because she accepts others. She describes an America that isn't exclusively for boomers, and you simply can't have that. Meanwhile, Trump in many ways epitomizes boomer othering thinking, and even openly bragged about not paying taxes when it could easily have been afforded. But he just used existing laws, you say. Maybe so. But avoiding an ethical responsibility simply because you can, and there isn't a penalty in place for preventing it, is an incredibly selfish way to behave, and that attitude has ruined our economy. The housing bubble, Citizens United, Reaganomics, the wage gap, voting against increasing the minimum wage, and the recession. Those are the results of your policies and your voting record. You spent a lifetime fearing the Russians in the Cold War, then elected the only candidate with ties to Putin's Russia. Confounding. Unless your intended message to America's youth is that the only thing better than an experienced, qualified, intelligent woman is literally any man. You boomers are the generation that severed wisdom from age, but demand automatic, unearned respect for both. That's entitlement. And perhaps millennials are disrespectful. But then maybe you shouldn't expect them to act like racism, homophobia, and social inequality are acceptable. The millennials need instant gratification. Where might they have learned that? Maybe they learned it by watching you.
I learned it by watching you, okay?
Exactly.
I never asked for a trophy.
You were given the equivalent of a Thanksgiving dinner, and your parents expected that you take some and pass along what you didn't need. But you gobbled it up. You went for seconds. You stripped it to bare bones, and now you're skipping out on the bill. Oh, but not before you get a full serving of Social Security pie for dessert. But we've paid into Social Security our whole lives. We deserve it in full, you say. Well, not quite. You haven't paid nearly enough in Social Security or in attention. Why do you think there's so much talk about how to continue funding Social Security? On average, every working boomer couple entering Social Security will receive $200,000 more in benefits than you've paid in. And there are tons of you. You could have paid an extra $38 per paycheck during your working lives, which have been pretty easy during the economy you lived in, just to break even. Nope. You wanted to keep it. That's where the deficit is coming from. So now your lazy, entitled kids are left paying for your feast, not theirs. And you seem perfectly happy to let them go hungry. So thank you, boomers. You've wiped out private and public retirement, lowered wages, increased debt and expense. You've all but demolished hope and incentive. And on top of that, you call them lazy. You call them entitled. Stop it. Perhaps you're tired of hearing me. I brought so much negativity. So little respect for my elders. Well, when you behave like spoiled brats, you don't get that. This needs to be said. Besides, I haven't even gotten into the excesses and incredible waste of your generation, so buckle up. You've ignored warnings about over-consuming fossil fuels. You knew they were limited, yet no conservative boomer I know has ever intentionally bought a car that gets better than 17 miles a gallon. You've moved from simply eschewing the threats of global climate change to outright denying it, in what I can only assume is your way of coping with your terrible decision-making and desire to continue living how you want, rather than prudently. What about getting the largest generation on board with the effort to recycle? Yeah, you ignored that too. Deforestation for cash crops? Fine by you. Conserving the limited stores of drinkable groundwater? Nah, not really your thing. You wanted swimming pools and green lawns. What about the value and quality of education during your voting years? What about the nuclear infrastructure planning and foundation begun by your parents? Ignored, scrapped, and destroyed. You want status quo, so long as you get yours. I see a theme here. You got Leave It to Beaver and Mayberry. You destroyed it. You continue to try to get it back by voting, but you don't understand because you never built it in the first place. Newsflash, your parents didn't do it by voting proto-fascist conservatives into office. Those were the policies of FDR. I don't expect you to take any blame or even help fix your mistakes. I know you too well for that. But don't shit on the people who are trying to fix it. I'll take a line you're fond of using. You should be ashamed of yourselves. You complain about millennials being unhappy with your choice of president. Let's look at the boomer leadership since taking over Congress in 2000. Yet again, the boomers are a bust. Politics is about compromise. It's give and take, sharing. Things boomers don't exactly excel at. In fact, you've turned this around completely. Now we have an ever-widening political divide in which your spoiled attitudes have taken over, and it's seen as a sort of a virtue to be wholly uncompromising. A kind of stomp-your-feet tantrum politics, wherein you get 100% of your way or you shut down the government. No negotiation, no discussion, no mercy, my way or the highway politics. Framed in that way, I think most people would agree it's nasty, childish, selfish behavior. But you've rebranded it. Now it's sticking to your principles. It's not wishy-washy, flip-floppity liberal politics. It's resolute and strong. In this way, you feel perfectly content to force your political will on everyone else because, well, you know what's good for us. You're the elders. The boomers have also effectively severed age from maturity. I feel for millennials. The economy and the future of the economy look grim. But they haven't lost all hope. They're smart. They're willing to sacrifice. Think about the tiny house movement, smaller cars or bicycles, recycling, renewable foods. They're genuine. And they're far less violent than previous generations. I wrote this opinion partly because I'm tired of the boomers bashing, bad-mouthing, and hypocrisy. But it's grown increasingly important to voice positivity for the youth who are hearing incessantly about how they aren't worth it. Fucking stop it. You're just being bullies. But fear not, boomers. I don't think you did this all intentionally. I subscribe to Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. Now, it's still your fault, of course, just maybe not all by design. I asked a Trump-supporting boomer on Social Security why she'd vote for conservatives who vow to cut entitlements, which include Social Security. Her answer perfectly sums up their attitude. Yes, but not for people who are already on it. If people between birth and 18 years can't be informed enough to vote, I say the same applies to out-of-touch elders. Average lifespan in the U.S. is 78 years. Subtract 18 that they use for the kids, and nobody over 60 is allowed to vote anymore.
There we go.
If this bleak look into boomer history wasn't a real wake-up call for you, at the very least, take it as an admonishment to discontinue your degradation of my kids. And for fuck's sake, they're your kids too. You want respect? Earn it. You don't browbeat your way to it. Maybe you'll dismiss all of this because it's too hard for you to hear. Fine. But remember, the millennials are the kids, and you're supposed to be the grown-ups. But since you can't seem to figure out the whole being an adult thing, I've stepped in. Here's a grown-up tip. If you can't be nice to children, shut your fucking mouths.
Hear, hear.
Thank you.
I dug every fucking bit of that.
This is Matt Dillahunty, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
It's been said it's capricious. That's true. And there is one, of course, absolutely morally unanswerable case to be made against it, of a pragmatic kind, which is that an innocent person executed is an unbearable thing to think about. That the irrevocability of it means that justice can never be done, whereas with all other forms of punishment, even if they've been applied by a racist system that never sentences the rich, nonetheless can be corrected. And of course, less often noticed that if you have executed the innocent, you have by definition liberated the guilty. I mean, it's a double offense, in other words, against all possible norms.
Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
So I looked up some numbers while you're doing that really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that the largest debt a person usually has nowadays is a home?
I would say college.
Student loans.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never went to college, so I don't know anything about that.
During the boomers generation, sure, a home was probably the largest.
Yeah, when it cost $16,000.
Yeah.
I looked up some numbers. So in 1950, so I was thinking about this because my grandfather, when I went and did a little interview with them and talked to them for a while.
Hashtag not all boomers.
No, my grandfather's not a boomer. My grandfather was born in 1929.
No, but I did start that out by saying conservative boomers.
Yeah.
And you know, that was already 4.5 pages. I didn't even include any of the stuff about how they didn't start the civil rights movement, even though that happened when they were alive.
Yeah,
they weren't even involved in that really either.
I'm just taking on.
But anything they would have done, I just have to say, anything they would have done for civil rights, they've completely reversed with their choice of politics over the last 50 years. So fuck them anyway.
Yeah. I'm just going with median numbers on this. So my grandfather told me that when he built his home, the home he still lives in right now, he only had to take out a $6,000 loan to buy the property and the materials to build the house. $6,000.
Which by today, that's not a whole lot. I wonder what that translates into today's dollars.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So in 1950, the average cost to buy a new home was $7,345.
I know my grandparents paid off their home decades ago.
Yeah, and you could have done it with an entry-level job.
Yeah. Jump to 1980, the average home was $60,000 for a new home.
And you got to look at the average wages, too.
Yeah, which haven't
since like 1990, they haven't gone up really at all.
No.
From 1980 to 2016, I'm going to grab the number again so I can be more exact with it. It makes a substantial jump to as of March, let's go December 31st of 2015, the average home cost was $223,200.
Mm-hmm.
Was the average cost to buy a new home in the U.S.
Yep.
God, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yep. And the average annual income is like 28.
And that's the average across the whole U.S.
32 maybe.
If you want to live in a major city or close to a major city, that number is going to be a lot fucking higher.
Right. And double that for student loan debt when you come out, too.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to have $500,000.
People in New York are paying as much. People in New York and certain parts of California are paying more in rent for a 1,000-foot fucking apartment than I'm paying for the mortgage on my home.
Yeah. My brother's apartment that he lived in Chicago, I think he told me at the time, I think he was paying close to $1,600 or $1,800 a month for his apartment.
Yeah.
And then when he bought his first home in Chicago, he's like, I got a fucking deal on this home. It's like, it was $350,000, and that was a steal. I was like,
yeah, Tracy's brother was out here for the holidays. He lives in California somewhere. I can't remember the name of the city, but he pays more in rent for his 1,200 square foot 2-bedroom apartment than we pay in our mortgage for our 4,800 square foot home.
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane.
He had to get a roommate just so that they would be able to have a place to live.
Yeah. And the fucking entitled kids.
And when you talk about with the baby boomers, like Reagan gave the largest tax deductions for corporate entities and everything. And that's really where we spiral to now. And now Trump wants to cut that, what he had cut it in half. Now he wants to cut what Reagan's was in half again. And when I talk to people about this, I'm like, okay, so you're pissed off about debt. You're pissed off about we've got all this interest and all this shit, but yet you want to put someone in office who's going to slash the part of our economy that gives 50% into taxes, what they're paying in half. And then pay for all these new roads, pay for this wall, pay to deport all these immigrants,
They don't care.
Pay to make our military twice the size. Like, where the fuck is that money coming from?
They don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
All they care about is not paying their own taxes and keeping Social Security.
Yeah,
that's all they care about.
Because we're going to take 25% less tax. That's not even including tax deductions on us, because I never did the math on what that would be for everybody else to have a tax deduction. And then you want to spend more How the fuck does that make sense?
Because the kids and grandkids are going to pay for it. They don't care.
No.
Reagan was the one who really kicked off the idea of pushing the bills off until kids and grandkids. But and he's partially at fault for that half of the Tea Party movement. And Nixon really was the other Republican who came in that was sort of the first pro-war Republican, where the rest of the Tea Party came from, that sort of thing. I mean, before that, Harry Truman was the one who first desegregated the military in 1944. He was, I mean, more or less, but at least he started it. He started getting it going. Eisenhower was a Republican back then. He cut the military budget and enacted the Highway Act, which put all the funding back into infrastructure.
Which is where we got I-80 from.
These are Republicans before Nixon and before Reagan.
Like, honestly, when people say...
Those are the Republicans of the boomers' parents.
Yeah.
The boomers put in place Nixon, Reagan, and the first boomer president we had was George W. Bush.
Well, when we got people who say, well, Lincoln was a Republican and this guy was a Republican.
But he was a liberal.
So I'm like, well, guess what? If that was still the Republican Party, I would probably be a Republican.
Yeah,
he still acted like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Tracy and I have been watching a show on Cinemax called Quarry. And I've been digging it quite a bit. It's set in the late...
Is that a pun intended there?
I've been digging it.
Digging the quarry.
But it's set... Oh, well, that was double because it was like digging. It was, slang back then.
Oh.
I had to think about the digging the quarry thing for a second.
It was a rock solid joke.
But it's set in the late 60s, early 70s, and there are scenes in it where they're integrating schools and they're busing students of color to white neighborhoods to go to white schools and vice versa. And the thought hit me that this happened during our parents' lifetimes. My dad, her mom, my mom,
this
parents, shit happened during their lifetimes. That schools were segregated during their lifetimes when they were kids, when they were adults.
Yeah.
Think.
And people like to say that we live in a post-racial America, a post-racial world.
It's not that far.
They're not even dead yet.
Far gone.
Yeah, they're not even dead. They're just starting to retire.
It's like so many people think that when slavery ended, bigotry and racism ended. And that's not at all what fucking happened.
It was 300 years ago, man. Let it go.
And these people, these baby boomers have now voted in the short-fingered, daughter-perving, Cheeto-colored vulgarian epitome of everything that is wrong with the boomer generation.
Yep. I mean, there's people that are still alive that have grandparents who are probably members of the KKK during their heydays.
But the funny thing is, many of the boomers' parents were more sympathetic to decent. I mean, not all, of course. They had their problems too, but the boomers are the only generation to have it better than their parents and their kids.
And are not striving to make it better.
No. They want more and more and more. They're spoiled little tantruming brats. That's why I said they've severed age from maturity.
And Donald Trump represents all that is wrong with that generation.
He is the boomer in one person. He's the personification of the baby boomers.
Yeah. The walking personification of everything that is wrong with the boomers.
Yeah. I mean, George W. Bush is pretty good at it too, but yeah.
He just likes to drink too much.
Oh, he's
Bush.
But both of them are boomers.
Well, but he did say it when he was doing his I'm leaving the office speeches, when he said, I've been sober for 7 years. It's like, but you've been in office for 8. In that first year you were in office.
Were you drinking during the first year or the last year?
Well,
I'm curious.
Well, because he said he got sober during. He said because he was an alcoholic. I've been sober for 7 years. And I'm like, yeah, but that first year that you were in office is when that 1 year would have happened that you were still drinking, and that's when we went to war in Iraq and Afghanistan.
That's when you're like, fuck it, hold my beer, let's go to Iraq.
Yeah. And the one thing I always hate is when people are always like, oh, you fucking millennials and all you kids, you need to have a trophy for everything and all this. Is like, that's why I said the trophy thing there. I'm like, we didn't ask for trophies.
Yeah, guess who gave them?
You gave them to us.
Yeah. Guess who gave it to him?
I was never a kid and saw a kid whining that he didn't get a trophy. No, you handed him one.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So that product is your fault.
You know, and
another a problem.
Another interesting thing too. So I knew my grandmother a little bit before she died. I was in my 20s, and she was not a boomer. She was born in 1916, and she was very different. Not at all racist at all. And she called the Millennials the button pushers. And it was kind of a cute thing because one, there's a little bit of a sting in there about, your kids and you're kind of annoying and but also you guys get technology so well. You're always click-clacking on the keys and, so there's this little sting, the little thing, but it's cute, and then there's also this understanding of, oh, they get technology and that's cool and all that. The boomers never picked up on the cute part of it. They called Gen X the slackers. And then they're like, yeah, right, Mom? Slackers. They didn't get that. No, you're not supposed to just be fucking mean to them. There's supposed to be an element.
Understand?
Yeah, there's supposed to be an element. And then like millennials, entitled, right? Don't I get it? Don't I get how to name generation? No, you don't. You're fucking assholes. You don't get any of the cute part of it.
It's because they have utter disdain for anybody who's not them.
Yeah, just total
lack of
spoiled,
concern, consideration.
Total spoiled brats.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty badass though.
Yeah, millennials are fine.
I don't even know what I'm classified as.
You're a millennial.
Am I?
Yeah. You both are.
Yeah. I'm a cusp.
You both are. I'm a Gen Xer.
I'm on the cusp, but a lot of it has to do with, it's kind of fluid right now, depending on where you relate.
See, because I thought there was supposed to be like the Generation Y between X and...
The Gen Y was sort of a placeholder for millennials until the name stuck.
Oh.
And so 82 to 2004 is millennial.
That's a big fucking gap.
Boomers are 46 to 64.
Well, it's a generation. It's
Yeah.
18, 20 years.
Yeah,
but
so I'm a millennial with a teenage millennial.
Yeah, see? That's where I'm going with the gap. I'm like, you got to shorten that gap up because otherwise you'll have...
shorten that gap up.
Shorten that gap up.
Because that's two generations in the same generation.
Sorry, Dan.
You can't have two generations in a generation.
We live in Utah.
True. You can have 5 in a generation
Things
here.
happen all the time.
I think I'm aware of the distinction between a state-sponsored immolation and a collision of violence involving citizens, if that's what you are trying to elucidate.
I'm trying to determine that if the death...
in other words, a person who inflicts random cruelty or violence upon another in the street is not conducting a human sacrifice. He's expressing the fact that we're an animal species with prefrontal lobes rather too small, of which there's ample evidence, and adrenaline glands rather too big, evidence no less convincing.
This is Lucian Greaves with the Satanic Temple, and you're listening to Godless Rebelution.
No, the juries make the decision whether a person lives or dies.
If the prosecutor has sought the death penalty, yes, that's the case. But a lot must happen before a jury gets that option. And as a matter of fact, it might be of interest to you to know that in my country of birth, the United Kingdom, one of the reasons for the abolition of capital punishment, given pragmatically by the Lord Chancellor of the day, was that many juries were so horrified by the capital punishment system that they would not convict people who they thought to be guilty of murder. In other words, it's another example of the diminishing returns of this foul and arbitrary idea.
I think to close out the show...
Wait, I got more thoughts from the year.
Oh, okay.
Whoa. Okay.
Let's hear them.
There's not very many.
Okay.
I'll hurry and go through these.
All right.
These are just sticky notes that I've had all year long, so I got to get rid of them.
What makes them sticky?
I come on them.
That's where I was going with it.
Was.
That's where I was going.
He's like, no pussyfooting around. I come on him.
Why am I liberal? Most basically, Republicans think everyone needs to be like them, while Democrats think people should be free to be themselves. Interestingly, a man named Martin McNeil, living in Pleasant Grove, was a murderer, maybe more than once, an adulterer, probably more than once, regular porn viewer, who cheated his way through law school, and yet was considered temple worthy. How did the bishop miss that? What the hell was the guiding spirit doing on that day?
No power of discernment there.
It's almost like he was never there in the first place.
Spirit was guiding his dick.
Strange.
Forget morality. The Bible is little more than an instruction book for managing a petting zoo.
And it didn't even do a good job.
I thought it was kind of funny.
That's good.
Adam and Lilith.
Oh, yeah.
The first human couple. Set aside God's colossal failure of mismatching Earth's first parents because she wouldn't fully submit, including sexually, which means that Adam was a divorced man when he met Eve. Oopsie.
Uh-oh.
Liberalism and atheism lead to social Darwinism.
That makes him an adulterer, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Unless it was annulled by God.
Of most religious people, anyway.
In the eyes of the Bible.
Yeah.
The Bible.
Liberalism and atheism lead to social Darwinism, says the libertarian who thinks the government needs to get out of the way so that only the strong will survive and the market will sort everything out. The more faith people appear to have, think Michelle Bachmann and Ted Cruz, the less faith they actually display. Fundies say that America needs to repent for abortion and same-sex marriage and taking prayer out of schools, or face God's wrath. Well, how many failures do you need to see before he actually wraths us?
Oh, yeah.
Where is the faith in this plan? Where's the faith that he can handle it? Let your God do it.
Well, yeah, they always say that we're on the brink of destruction.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen anytime now. And that bothers me on two... I'm sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, can we make a t-shirt that says waiting for my wrathing?
Yes.
I think there's a podcast called Waiting for Wrath.
Yes, there is.
But that's wrath, not wrathing.
Ah, I gotcha. But yeah, that opinion bothers me on a couple levels because they say that it's going to happen anytime now, displaying a lack of faith that their God is going to make everything okay. But then they also want that to happen anyway. So what the fuck are they complaining about?
Yeah, exactly.
God's a dick.
Why do Republicans complain about welfare? I mean, set aside that it's only 4 to 5% of the total federal budget, welfare allows the job creators to pay well below living wages and pass that responsibility off to taxpayers, who, by the way, aren't the job creators.
Taxpayers.
The taxpayers. But it's free money. So which part are they objecting to? Suddenly the fight against raising minimum wage makes sense. Gay marriage will lead to bestiality. But of course, a major objection here is consent. But why should we expect fundies to accept this argument? They've shown repeatedly they don't value consent. We hear all the time about wives' duties in and out of the bedroom. And what about forcing women to bring rape babies to term? The consent issue fails with fundies because it only targets people who care.
Speaking of wives' duties,
only people who care about consent.
I went back and listened to the podcast where you're talking to the lady on the telephone about your wife not doing her duties.
Mm-hmm. And finally, science, in a certain sense, is a tool for reining in the human imagination. This alone explains its conflict with religion and makes pseudoscience little more than humanities with graphs.
Humanities with graphs, yeah.
Skin graphs?
Good.
Thanks.
I like all of those.
Yeah.
It's good to have you back in the studio, man.
Well, thank you.
This will be a regular thing going forward for some time.
Yeah, for a little bit. I still have some studying and testing. God, I'm going to fail this. Never mind. I'm just going to be here.
But congratulations. Matt proudly displayed his official EMT license earlier today.
Yeah.
Yay!
Thank you very much.
That's pretty exciting shit, man.
Yeah, I didn't even get a card with mine.
Did you not? Did you not ask him to mail one to you?
No.
Oh, well, I did.
No, that sucks to be you then.
I'm going to go online and say, mail me that, bitches.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
Real quick, to close out the evening, we wanted to give a congratulations and warm shout out to the Satanic.
We want to give a hail Satan
to the Satanic Temple,
to the taxpayers' Satanic Temple
local chapter here. We've had the chapter head for the local Satanic Temple in studio with us for an episode, Ms. Shalise Blythe. We wanted to give them a shout out and congratulations for today being the open house for their very first after school Satan club.
Yay.
In Taylorsville, Utah.
Congratulations.
And from all reports and accounts, it went very, very well.
Yeah.
A very, very big success, and there were a lot of parents and students excited to attend. So
awesome.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Good job. I think that brings us to the close of tonight's show.
Yeah, sadly, we gotta leave you again for another week.
But don't worry.
We'll be back. We'll get the boogeyman out of the closet.
Is this a new way we close the show? Like being all weird and
you wouldn't know.
Creepy.
You haven't been here.
Creepy nursery rhymey style.
Being all Ryan at the end of the show.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know about our creepy pasta endings.
Right.
No, again, I want to thank you all for your support, for listening to the show, for liking us, for rating us. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who sends us articles, things to review. Tamel sends us shit all the time that we get too busy to talk about a lot of the time, but I read and greatly appreciate him sending that stuff in.
Taboo. I hear his name more on the Two Skeptical Chaps than on this show anymore.
Taboo, yeah.
Taboo.
Agent Taboo.
We've got more mail from Taboo. Oh, that's right, we do.
Also want to thank all of the guests that we've had on the show.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, the people that have filled in for Matt while he was away.
Yes, thanks, George.
Yes. George, you did a wonderful job.
Thanks, George, Chris, Kyle, Grant.
Yes.
You've all been fantastic, and we are glad that you all are enjoying the show.
And we hope to bring you a successful year of podcasts in the year of Trumpedom.
Yeah, we shall see.
Will this be the last one released before he's sworn in, or next week's will, I believe?
I think
next week's, yeah.
Today's
we'll be in
the
just
11th.
in time.
No. This will be the last one released. Released.
Before
inauguration. Yeah, because we're going to record the next one 3 days before the inauguration.
Oh, God,
but he won't have time to repeal the First Amendment completely before we get the next one out. So
no, but he can open up hunting season on Atheist Podcasters.
What's a punting season?
Hunting.
Because if
How's Wisconsin?
He can open up punting season.
Oh, that's something in Great Britain.
All right. Well, thank you both for being here tonight also.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah,
I just love sitting down here talking to you guys
Thanks for
and
having
doing
us.
this shit. And so until next week, thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, do something fun. George Linville sent it out again today.
George Linville?
Jeff. I see a G, and I wanted to make a G sound, not a J.
Oh, clearly it's George. I'm just gonna jump right in there.
It's a George.
I feel like your mic's still a little hot.
You know what? You can fuck yourself in the ass.
I actually can't. But in a few more years, it might be saggy enough. Reach all the way back there. Shout out to George Linville, if you're listening.
I'm just going to call him George from now on.
There's still episodes that I'm like, because you're like, you send messages and you're like, yeah, I've got the YouTube channel up. And I'm like, fuck. Because I think about shit I've said and stuff that's going to be out there, and I'm like, God damn it.
I don't know what that means.
You never know what anything means that you say.